All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to ESEA Weekly's Game of the Match. We have on the blue team Ghost Regiment Ice versus Tamagotchi. Now, this is actually a pretty exciting match coming in here because both teams are undefeated and looking to go, still undefeated. Right now, we have about 3 or 4 teams that are 4-0 so far in the league. One of these teams is going to go to 4-0. One of these teams is going to go to 3-1. And there's a little bit on the line here because to start out the season, Ghost Regiment Ice had to actually beat their own sister team, Ghost Regiment Vanquish. And I'm sure that was a heartbreaker. But then down the line, Tamagotchi comes in here and actually just this last Monday took out their team again for themselves. Took out Ghost Regiment Vanquish. So Ghost Regiment Ice, wanted to get a little bit of vengeance. Coming in on this game is going to want to, shut this Tamagotchi team down for taking out their fellow teammates. And looking at these bands, most of them pretty strong Malphite. I'm not too scared of him these days, although he can be pretty tanky in this new age where it's really hard to be tanky. And he's really good against ADs, which ADs are very, very popular right now. Lulu, very, very strong, coming to a lot more prominence with Season 3. Season 2, she was kind of, she was in and out. The Koreans or the Asian teams were using her quite a bit. Now in Season 3, we're going to see her come back as one of the top supports. Looks like there's going to be a ban there, probably targeted ban at one of the members of Tamagotchi. Shen ban, that's a pretty respectable ban. I can understand that. Shen always a hassle to deal with. On their side, this is more like the recent flavor of what I've been seeing in a lot of competitive games. And it looks online, Evelyn, Lee Sin, Kha'Zix. Kha'Zix has been a beast up top. Evelyn in that mid lane, just roaming from lane to lane, taking people out. We saw a lot of that in Season 2. She's still pretty strong in the current meta. And then Lee Sin, who, some people were saying he's going to be weaker in the new jungle, but that is absolutely not the case at all. He is still an absolute beast. He's super aggressive. Those people didn't know what they were talking about. So let's get into the picks because that's going to take care of the bans here. Ghost Regiment Ice. Looks like they started out with a Mumu. They really, really wanted that pick. They wanted a lot of team control, a lot of AoE damage. It looks like that's what they're stacking up here, following with Leona and Riven. So they actually looks like they may not want to actually give up their current. They didn't want to give up the current AD. They were thinking about toying around with it. So we have a lot of AoE CC in there, and then combined with Riven's mobility and her AoE damage and execute. On the other end, they went straight out. Hey, let's go Sona Ezreal, really strong poke comp in that bottom lane, harass the crap out of them. Then we're gonna go Olaf. Olaf has been really, really strong, and he's one of those. He's one of those champions right now that he's almost becoming a necessity. We saw him kind of come on strong. Nintendo X plays an amazing Olaf. We've seen that in lots of tournament high-level games, but really now teams are realizing it's like. With the new setups, you really need to get to those back lines. And in order to get the back lines, Ragnarok is the key to do it. And so he's a very, very solid jungler. He can jungle pretty fast. Has that AoE clear, throws that axe, undertow, can pick it right back up, reset up the cooldown, and just keep chucking away and plow through the jungle. Plus he has a little bit of sustain on there. So he is a pretty good pick for what they want to do here. And it looks like they're going to go. He's going to come in here with Wukong. Looks like it might be an aggressive play on Wukong, and then we're also going to have Maokai. So actually, no, this is not going to be a jungle Olaf. They picked up Maokai, so they're actually going to rotate him into the jungle and just let Olaf farm in a lane. And this is kind of what I'm seeing from Tamagotchi is more where I think the game is going. I think it's going to go more to these ADs. You see, we have an Olaf top and a Wukong possibly middle. They might mix that around. I'm not quite sure. But more than likely, I think I see Wukong middle more or less. But the ADs are in force. There's a heavy AD here. They're not worried about having to have an AP champion necessarily in there. Maokai could try to fulfill that role, but he doesn't really want to. He's gonna, and Maokai's also one of those champions who, with the new ability. So, in case anybody doesn't know, Season 3, everybody should know this actually. If you're watching this, you should know. They switched the way armor penetration used to work, or any penetration for that matter used to work. Is the percent chunks that you would take off would come in after your flat. So if you had 15 armor penetration, let's say let's just take Black Cleaver for example, at max stacks or whatever. Let's say you have 25% armor penetration, and you have 15 flat. The flat would go, then the percent would come off. Now the percent comes off, then the flat comes off, so you get the maximum percent of armor penetration out of that combo. This means that armor really and magic resist have become less cost effective. Health is actually more cost effective, and itemizing to become really tanky is harder to do in this game. So Maokai comes in and says, hey, I have this ult that just reduces damage flat, and that's a good way to get your team tanky in a game that currently is, lacking in the ability to be tanky. It's pretty hard. On the other hand, they also have to deal with a lot of AoE here, so Maokai is also going to be really good against AoE comps. That's what we're seeing. So we have lots of AoE, just AoE all over the place for Ghost Regiment Ice, so they're going to be wanting to dictate some of these fights, while meanwhile it looks to me like Tamagotchi just going to want to have to outplay him in lane, and maybe play the better positioning game, because if everything stays pretty much even through the main laning phase, I'll remove these summoner blockers. If everything pretty much remains stable through the laning phase, and we see Team Ghost Regiment Ice, the blue team, come out here pretty even, they have a sick AoE comp, and if they get a hold of Tamagotchi's in a lot of trouble. Now they have some ways to kind of try to bite through it and fight through it, but I don't like their chances if this comes out necessarily even. So I'm looking for Tamagotchi to probably make some early plays in this game to open it up and get an advantage, and then try to snowball it that way. And that's what they're going for with these ADs. Going to try to get all over Karthus. Karthus is actually a pretty good champion for this, just because he can be harassed, but he can also stay pretty far away with lay waste, throw down some damage, and even if you do kill him, he does have his Requiem and his afterlife ability, his passive, so he's able to stay alive and deal out some extra damage in there. So it's going to be a tricky proposition if they want to try to dive him or something like that. So I'm pretty excited to see how these teams work out. I really like both teams. As we're coming here, obviously they both have pretty direct strategies. As we look at the summoner spells, nothing too crazy coming in here from either team, really. I mean, Olaf with Ghost, that's typical what you'll see. He'll try to get through. He basically pops Ghost, pops Ragnarok, and chases down your AD carry and tries to make sure that they can't get away from him. That's basically the goal there. I like what Ezreal's doing, going cleanse. It's a pretty smart. A lot of players get pretty stubborn. They want to go aggressive, want to go that style. And Ezreal said, hey, you know what? I'm smart. There's way too much CC on this team. I'm going to be a key late in the game to kite around. If they try to focus on me and I'm able to kite them, I'm going to waste a lot of their effort and their time, and I'm still going to be able to pick them apart. And all I need is that cleanse, so just in case I can get out of it. On top of that, Sona can actually go, essentially Mickey Pendant, but she can actually go and be able to cleanse him herself with a new support item, which we might see that. We might see that come into play here. So looks like we're just waiting for stuff to load up here. Really excited. Again, this is our game of the week, and again, there is some pride and vengeance on the line here. So let's check out the teams. Bam. So looking at these guys, we got a few diamond players in the house. Looks like Tamagotchi pretty solid all the way across the board. Wengla looks like he's not rated, but although that might just be him not playing ranked currently. You never know. I expect all these players to be pretty good since they're undefeated at this point, and they probably have really good team chemistry, which would trump, a team of just a few diamonds. So I'm actually excited to see where this game goes. Looking at all this team, pretty much everybody excited coming to the house for Wenglo. His new account, so fresh. So, all right, here we are again. I am Pato with you, casting our match of the week, which is going to be Ghost Regiment Ice as the blue team and Tamagotchi as the red team coming in here. Misfortune running out pretty quick on the bottom. Both teams trying to get out here. And we're just going to see if we do see any sort of invade. Looking at starting items. I like the flask, actually, from Wukong. Flask item is a really cool item to start with. If you haven't been playing with it, it is a new item. So I see a lot of players that don't quite know the magic of Flask, but basically you get 3 potions out of it, essentially. But you also get mana out of it, so it's a really good sustain item in lane, and it refills every time you go back to your base. So starting with it early can actually give you a little bit of an advantage in those early stages, which is kind of a nice thing to have. And it looks like Tamagotchi is actually coming here pretty well while Ghost Regiment Ice is spread out. And they're kind of leaving an opening here. Like, no one came and watched specifically here. Maybe they knew that they were a little bit late out of the gate, so they were pretty afraid, except for one problem might be if Tamagotchi wanted to rotate down. But, I mean, they'd have to completely blind guess that Misfortune was down in the bottom right brush, which You know, if they did that, congratulations to them. She'd be in a lot of trouble. That's the only dangerous part about her positioning right now. But Leona taking the smart move. She's actually going to walk back to lane, through lane, back to bottom lane, and take care of it that way. Maokai's just going to stack his boxes up here. Has a bit of protection. Here's going to be able to clear this wave pretty quickly. And, you know, the old days of where we had all these super hard leashes isn't quite there, but still going to get some help in here. They can still put out damage. You see Wukong there a little bit closer, dealing some damage, and now they're rotating around here, going to help him out. So a lot of effort actually being put in here to help these guys be able to get their buffs right now. As we see bottom lane just hanging around here, just going to help out, get the Lizard, and Maokai's easily going to be able to take this. And this is actually a huge deal. In the new jungle, you know, losing one of your camps even just puts you behind quite a bit. Amuma coming out of this pretty low. Looks like he's heading up top. Maybe he's going to go for an early gank. You know, we've seen a lot of teams, what they've decided to do really is decide, you know what, I'm gonna play this safe. I'm gonna back off. You know, I'm gonna just farm my jungle, get my jungler all fed up, and do it that way. But now Red Team actually has that really smart early warding, and they're actually going to see a Mummy doing this, being really low, and both teams are pinging right now. Mummy should know what's up. He's trying to beat feet, get out of this. Riven engaging onto Olaf. Olaf heading up. He does not want to get caught out here. He would be at disadvantage using his Undertow in there, but Karthus is actually chased, and Wukong taking some damage here. You know, backing up their team, kind of baiting them in there in good protection. You know, a lot of times teams, you don't see this level of coordination from a lot of teams where, you know, they'll kind of be blind a little bit to their teammates getting attacked in the jungle. They might be a hair late, and if they are, they might be in trouble. But Beast Balls right now doing a pretty good job. Riven getting out a good burst of damage. Ignite going down, and will he be able to get first blood? He will be able to get first blood in top lane. Great smart player out there playing it out quite perfectly right there in those trades. And Riven just thinking she might have had something stuck around a little bit too long and playing those cooldowns correctly. And there is the Twisted Advance underneath the turret. Gets the slow on. Wukong's going to go and get exhausted. Try to get back out of it. He takes a lot of damage in here. This is very, very close. And there's no mana left on Karthus right here. And Maokai just going to protect him a little bit. Twisted Advance is in there. Flash is in there. Gets the last hit. Will he be able to get the hit? He will get the hit. But will he go down? No, he's not. He's just barely going to be able to get us. And Nunu doing some work right there. Living on the edge. And this is the exact kind of moves that they need to make. You know, it's kind of a dangerous thing to do, necessarily to play it that close, give up kills, but if you're able to go in there and get out with it the way they have, this is exactly what they need to do to fight this AoE team comp. They need to keep them behind, they need to be ahead in their lanes, and so far, so good. Working out kind of massive. So looking at the early CS, we can kind of see it coming in here. ADs are very, very close in that bottom lane. Support's playing pretty much perfectly, not being able to take CS, which is pretty good for Sona players when they don't take CS from their carries. They can be able to do that quite often if they're not experienced, but obviously we have some good teams in here. And so far I like both teams' coordination and their communication in this game. Just a few in-lane mistakes, just not necessarily knowing how close they are to death, and it's a skill that a lot of the top players you'll see. You wonder why you don't see deaths in lane a lot. It's because they understand when they have advantages, when they don't have advantages. They know their cooldowns. They know if they wait for a cooldown here, they can get in. They know their trade combos really, really well. So situations like we saw here, where Riven stayed around a little bit too much top. Karthus got a little bit complacent against Maokai. Didn't think Maokai was going to come in there and be able to deal enough damage to kill him. That's just one of those things that the more experience you get with these champions, the more you pay attention to your damage and how much you can put out, the more you know when you can actually have advantages. And here, nice brush gank in there, and Riven's going to use her mobility to get out of this, and she will be safe. But this is putting her quite a bit behind. Riven right now, she's hanging tough. She has a potion and a ward here, but the ward's not really going to help her too much at this point. And we see Olaf has just gone heavy armor. Twisted Advance right in there, not passing off. And will they be able to get it? And it's not going to be able to get Flash actually coming out from Riven to back off out of this, and she can actually not stick around underneath this turret. She might try. Olaf is pretty low. She might bait something out here. but they know Amumu's there. Great warding again, and just barely misses with that bandage shot. That was very, very close. That could have been pretty clutch if he was able to land that right there. But overall, I like the warding. It's like you can tell these are very deliberate, important moves. And Forces wanted to go in there off of the Leona move, is now backed off and trying to fight this out. And Sona trying to put enough damage to be able to take this. It looks like they're actually going to trade support for AD, which is exactly what they want for Tamagotchi's team. They'll happily trade AD for support, or trade their support for the enemy AD all day long. This is actually going to give Shoryuken a lot of advantage in lane here. He's going to be able to farm up and should be able to get a hefty advantage. He's already up 10 CS. In the time it takes to get back, if he can push this in, he's going to be sitting pretty, and Leona is going to be able to get off this combo right here, but Shoryuken's really not in that much danger. He really just has to worry about a jungle gank, in which right now I don't know if he was paying too much attention to top lane or if the communication's coming through, but he should know that Amumu was probably top lane and he's safe, but he does have no wards, so he's always constantly looking out, which is not just, I'm never going to dog someone for being, extra safe. That's fine play. It looks like he's going to back off out of this. He pushed up his lane enough, and he's going to come back to base and pick up a BF sword. The forever trades. Undertow, so anyone that plays against Olaf, we can see what he's maxing. I'm guessing it might be Undertow. Let me see. No, he's 2-1-2, so he's actually pretty balanced. But if you are against an Olaf in the top lane, the main thing to do is you got to just watch for his Undertow, anticipate it, and dodge it, because that's a lot of damage that comes out, plus the slow. It leaves you pretty vulnerable, and that's where a lot of his damage comes from. You just need to dodge it. Just make sure you don't get hit by it. If you take too many of those, he has all the advantage in lane, and oh my gosh, that bandage toss just a pixel short. The jig is up, but they did have wards in there. Sona came back down. They placed out some good wards, and now they're looking pretty. In the spot lane, they have the protection they need, and they have good vision. But again, going back to Tamagotchi's, their moves around the map are very, very, they're well thought out. As they move in, they place a lot of wards where they need to place them. You can see down here, as he came into tower dive, he just didn't come in tower dive. He placed the wards here so they could actually have extra vision there when it came time. And I actually like that smart heads-up play. Looks like Maokai just starting off right away with his Spirit Stone, and we have Sight Stone for Sona, and as well as Leona. And those items are pretty much like, those are the items. Really, if you break it down, you have to place like 2 rounds of wards, and you've made the items paid for itself. And if they get a good bandage toss here, this could be clutch. Although Arcane Shift might be able to get out of it, and it is going to miss again. And unfortunately, Mumu just can't get off any ganks. Very vigilant play by Tamagotchi's team, looking for it, playing safe, trying to guess a little bit there. Pink ward control, I like this right now. They do not know Maokai is here, although they do know Amumu is here. So if they get in a fight, it is on. Amumu is already level 6. Everybody has their ults in there, so you need to make sure that they do protect Ezreal. And the big fight's going down here. Maokai's ult is popped up. We have the ult for Misfortune coming. It is going to land. Requiem's coming in here. It should clear up Shoryuken. It is going to, but then Suengo, will he be able to survive? And the flash after! Will Nunu be able to get this? And Forces is actually going to be able to get away from the present. And brilliant exchange right there. Ghost Ice Regiment coming out a little bit on top right there. And actually in a big way, there's 4 kills. Riven was able to actually pick up a kill in the middle of all that, and that's actually, we have the ability to go back. Let's check out what's going on in this top lane right now, and it looks like just straight up goes in there, combined with the Requiem, and uses this Execute, I imagine, once it's time. There it is. Gets that last hit in there to make sure, and beautiful play all around. So what was pretty much a game that was going all in favor of Tamagotchi just swung 4 kills. Boom. Count it. 5-5. Even gold on the board. And this is exactly what Ghost Ice Regiment needed to get back in this game. They need to hang tough. They need to hang even. And that's what we're seeing from them. We're seeing a lot of effort towards that. So looking in at total golds here for the ADs, it looks like Misfortune's ahead now. Even though she's behind CS, she does have all those kills from that last engagement. That's pretty huge for them. Misfortune is a champion that needs to have that early advantage In the jungle, it looks like Maokai's ahead. In mid lane, it looks like Karthus actually creeping out to a lead now. Everyone, overall pretty even. I mean, we're only talking about like 200 gold and such in most cases here. But the fact that Miss Fortune was able to swing that bot lane is actually pretty huge because she was in a little bit of trouble to start out. And as we get farther in the game, my money's going towards Ezreal here. It's not going to be as much towards Miss Fortune. Miss Fortune doesn't have a lot of escapes, and her ult isn't. I mean, her ult is good, especially combined with what their team has. But you saw right there, she put out her ult and barely had any life left. And Wukong is just a handful for Karthus in this mid lane. We're seeing it right here, and the full dive is on. Karthus just gone. Saved up the ults. Great stun actually under turret, and beautiful play by Yagami right there. And now Forces is up here. He has that extra speed, strutting it out, and Wukong is going to go down as well, not able to pick up the kill on a Mumu. And I have to applaud Ghost Regiment Ice here. They were down a little bit, but they're playing really well. It almost reminds me of a little bit of let's go back to the championships, if you will, of Season 2, where, I mean, I'm not saying these players are as good, but, the comparison is there. Taipei Assassins, their first game against Azubu Frost. Azubu Frost was all over trying to make moves, and what would happen is Taipei Assassins just kind of counter their moves. So, you would see, Azubu Frost is like, oh, make this great move, and Taipei Assassin everybody would be rotated there, they'd be countering it, they'd be trading kills, and coming out a little bit on top, and that's kind of what we're seeing from Ghost Regiment Ice. They're down, they're behind, instead of, putting their heads down in the sand, they've rotated themselves in position. Amumu's finally landing those clutch bandage tosses, and they're pulling off kills out of it, they're pulling off advantage trades. 7-6, they're creeping ahead in gold. Leona going in there, but not prepared for the fact that she is going to be in a 3-on-1, and really Sona just keeping Forces away and keeping him far away. Dealt a lot of damage out to him. Actually pretty impressive there, but Ragnarok is tossed, so he's actually holding onto his bandage. That's going to wait for that to wear out. Then he's going to land it, and then, Olaf is in a lot of trouble here. That is a kill in the top lane. So trades is going down, but the dive is on, so they're going to trade ADs in the bot lane. But both teams just kill hungry right now, and they're sitting even still at 13 minutes of the game. And these are the kind of games I like to see. This is what I want to see, and this is worthy of a match of the week right now. It looks like finally our first turret might fall in this top lane. Wukong running up there, trying to put some pressure on it, but it should be down before he's able to get up there. He might go in there and make a scary face. I'm pretty sure they're going to be able to get out of this and take the first turret. So that's a nice little gold bump for them in an even game, and it opens up a little bit of map control. Looks like Karthus. How's Karthus doing in the farming? He's actually, Wukong has been bullying him quite a bit. They dove him. They've been putting in a lot of harassment here. As far as item goes, we see Bloodthirsters for both teams, so they can actually trade very, very well right now, get a lot of health back in exchanges. Ezreal going for Sheen. Might turn that into the Ice Gauntlets of Doom, the better phage, if you will. And look at the other side, Miss Fortune is probably going for... looks like she has some attack speed in there, so she might go Phantom Dancer. We'll see. I would have to believe that's probably what she's going, since... I don't know. We'll see what she decides to go finally in the end. And a lot of protection coming in here towards Dragon for both teams right now. Pink Ward's going down. It looks like Sona's actually going to win the Pink Ward battle so far. We might see that come a little bit back and forth. Another Pink Ward still in the pocket of Leona here. So they will have a little bit of advantage. For Ezreal's also picked up a Pink Ward. Love to see that from AD carries. The other fun thing I like to see is when a lot of champions actually bank health pots. They didn't have to use them before. They forget to use them in team fights. And so they kind of just like stack around with them. What we see right here is you see Ezreal actually has like 3. I think he has 3 health pots in there right now. Probably not how he intended it to be at this point in the game. And this pink ward control, a lot of ward control all around coming from both teams. So pink ward will go down. They will get dragon control in here. And now they're going to start this. They have an AoE teamfight team, so this is actually something they kind of like. They like this team fight right here. They saw Olaf top. They're going to be able to take Dragon. Not going to be able to do anything about it. Soda comes in. Now they're going to have the Ezreal come in. Karthus is going to be taken on right away, but still going to be able to do his damage. And they're doing out a lot of damage right now, trying to get in here. And it looks like Sona will go down, but Tamagotchi coming out on top here. they still have their key tanky pieces diving in there and cleaning it up, and Maokai reducing just enough damage in there. And Shoryuken's even able to survive throughout this. I thought for sure Ghost Regiment Ice was looking pretty good in that exchange. So Ghost Regiment Ice able to pick up that dragon, able to pick up 2 kills in that fight, still ahead in gold, but overall very good decisive move by Tamagotchi. It's kind of what they needed to do in there if they were going to spend the time to rotate everyone down, and they're going to take a turret. So this is actually going to swing it very much into the best move side for Tamagotchi. So Tamagotchi coming out very much on top in that. They're going to get 2 turrets here. That's going to bump them up a little bit.
Blue team's turret has been destroyed.
And yeah, I like that play. So in those scenarios, to me, the thing that stands out, and the thing that I constantly go back to when it comes to those scenarios is first punch. Who throws the first punch? So you have an AoE team. You have this really good AoE team. If Sona comes in there and starts the fight, and there's a Wukong and all these champions that are disruptive, even if you have an AoE team comp, you're still taking your damage up front. Ezreal's popping in his ult. He's getting maximum potential at that. If you throw the first punch and they have to try to react and kite that, then that becomes a tougher proposition for them. And that's kind of what I feel happened there is, Sona came in, had a great ult, and the rest of Tamagotchi followed up just a little bit better, and then in reaction they tried to get off all their AoE ults and just wasn't as crisp. It's a very different thing when you throw the punch and you're like, all right, let's execute now, versus you get executed on and then you have to decide, you have to scramble and be like, all right, everybody do your job in this quick second, know what you're supposed to do and do it correctly, versus planning it out and being like, all right, ready, set, go. Yeah, I mean, that's when you get in those scenarios, I always find it, the moral of the story is, be the team that's throwing the first punch. Don't be the reactive team, unless your team comes built to be defensive or reactive. But when you're a team like Ghost Regiment Ice, where you're built to just be the ones that are like, hey, we got you. We're dealing lots of AoE damage to your team. Eat it. And the damage right now that's coming out of Olaf is insane, and Riven's gonna have to rely on a lot of mobility to try to get out of this. Just trying to be patient right there. Gets the stun off. Great tracking actually by Olaf in that top lane, chasing her down. And will he be able to, he should be able to get her. That undertow should be able to secure it. Meanwhile, in the bottom lane, picking up a kill onto Sona. I imagine there was a lot of stuns underneath the turret for a very overly aggressive support. I'd be willing to bet money on that. So usually, if you see her under turret and she's dead and you have all this AoE behind it, that's what it is. So Maokai throwing down his ult, very good move. Lots of stuns going on to Shoryuken, trying to hold him in place. He's still going to be able to escape out of that though. He's behind the wall. Wukong's able to pop off his ult. This is very, very good. They still have a lot of their AD damage over across that wall, but he's not going to be able to stand there and be able to pick up a kill yet. And the rest of the team, it looks like Forces is going to get the rest of his life back with that Bloodthirster. Clean it up. And yeah, good little engagement there by both teams. Trading supports essentially in the end. And look at that warding in that bottom jungle. That's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. So they got red buff, that entrances, exits. It's all good. It's all good. And I like this, the when you have an item that gives you free wards like sight stones. I mean, they have 2 sight stones on Tamagotchi, 1 sight stone on Ghost Regiment Ice. But when you have 2 sight stones and you just you have all these free wards, it's like why not just throw them around? Wherever you go, ward it as you go in and protect your gain vision of your area that you're trying to dominate. In teamfights too, if you pull back and they suck into that area and they pull into the bushes where you have vision and they don't, it's actually a pretty good advantage. And God's Rage right now has not quite learned that he does not have the win here. It's very close. Oh, Requiem's gonna clean this up though. Boom. And that was one of those scenarios where you think back to yourself, it's like, maybe I should have tried to lifesteal right there and try to get enough life, but probably wasn't going to do it. He was really, really low right there. But good trade by both players. Both players thought they had it, but me looking at it, Olaf had that pretty much all the way. It was going to be close, but Olaf had it, especially with that extra damage that he's reckoning now. But there it is, Ezreal with his permaphage, or the better phage as I like to call it. So Iceborne Gauntlets, for those who don't know, it's a new item. It kind of acts like a mini Triforce, and the other thing that it does is when you make auto attack, it creates a cloud of ice which actually slows enemies. Well, Mystic Shot procs on hit effects, procs the amazing and deadly ice gauntlets. So that's what Ezreal's all about right now. And the kite is crazy. It's really effective for team fights. The cooldown on it is pretty much non-existent. So by the time Mystic shots back up, you have another one in the bank, and you could probably get one off in between. So really overall, really ridiculously strong item on Ezreal, and we've seen it kind of come into prominence recently with him. So Olaf's just going really, really tanky because he knows he has to dive into the back lines, knows he has to trade. You know, even as heavy tank as he's gone, and they're actually going to go right on to God's Rage right here. They have most of their team in here. Mumu trying to protect him, and now Riven's going to come back in there, deal a little bit of damage, has her ult, needs to get that off before she goes down, will be able to do that, does get picked off just barely, and nice strike by Ghost Regiment Ice. I like it so far, but Olaf is coming here. They need to be very, very careful, and yeah, Karthus is pretty much left for dead. It's going to be very lucky if he's able to get this Maokai. He's not able to do it, and it looks like Tamagotchi might have a good shot at this dragon, and it looks like, yeah, Olaf chasing him away. Definitely going to be able to do this, and Olaf might be able to get this good flash. Going to be actually underneath turret. He just needs to dodge the undertow. That's the key there. Gets the stun off, and just gets annihilated by that true damage. That was pretty brutal. So Dragon also going to Tamagotchi. They've been able to build about a 4K lead so far, and I really like that coming in here. They've basically, it's been a really big back and forth game, and Ghost Ranger Ice was able to make some serious moves, but I'm kind of starting to see the champions or the method, the strategy that wanted to be employed by Tamagotchi kind of pulling through here. They didn't quite win their lanes, but they've come out really strong in their lanes, and they've really taken advantage of a lot of these later trades now. And they're starting to transition into a pretty healthy advantage. They're starting to get the items they want. They even have Quicksilver Stash onto Ezreal, which is kind of interesting. So he's, because they put a support item in the game, so you wouldn't have to do that. But I guess maybe they don't want to rely on that. They'll put all the cleanses. Maybe they'll get another one. There'll be 3 cleanses for Ezreal. You'll never be able to catch him, especially with that frost. So don't really want to knock it. He is kind of ahead right now. Misfortune with that penetration, but as I was talking about earlier, Olaf has gone so tanky, but even in that trade, it was still really close between her and Riven, all because she has a Last Whisper. Last Whisper takes 40% of your armor away, combined with whatever her masteries are, and that's enough to deal crazy damage to someone that has a ton of armor stacked on them. I mean, looking at him right now, he has 177 armor. I mean, seriously. He's getting up there. Luckily, he's not in the legal black cleaver, so he's actually a pretty. Olaf right now is kind of the key factor as we sit in this stage of the game. When we get later and later, he'll be less of a factor, but right now he's actually the big strength for Tamagotchi. So they kind of need to use him and pick their fights correctly. Now they do not need to get caught here, because 4v5 against this AoE team, they're still in a lot of trouble as it sits currently. The only downside to a lot of the AoE damage in here is that Misfortune's AoE damage is, it's okay, but it's not really like, oh my god. And then, as we look at, characters like Karthus and Riven, they're characters that really have to get in there to do a lot of the damage they want to do. They can't, they don't do their AoE from range. And quick engage here, the Scythe, they're going for Karthus right away. Still not down yet. He is finally going to go to Maokai. And then Wukong is absolutely all over Forces, which is what they should do here. Now he needs to try to survive, but in comes Olaf. Here is the deciding factor, who just barely misses that undertow. Wukong running up, trying to get away from this. Wants to land it. He will land it, but Riven's going to be able to pick up her mobility right now and be able to get out of this sticky situation. So furious little trade right there, but as we can, and actually pulling the lead a little bit closer. So after that, Ghost Rider to get in, but Olaf trying to track down his victim is not going to be able to do it. That's a really easy bandage toss. That's pretty questionable unless he's going to turn this around. He is going to try to turn around, but he's not going to be able to get it. So when you run in between that turret, it's like you have nowhere else to go. So that bandage toss was like 100% landed. Might as well have been like on click, instead of a skill shot. right there. The only thing I was thinking is that maybe he thought he could bait in, or maybe he had some team support, but was not there at all. So, I mean, definitely take the little extra time, run up here, because up here you actually have juking room. In between this turret, you have nothing. So, little bit of tips for anybody that finds yourself in that situation where you're playing around any of these turrets and any skill shot champion. This says I'm gonna get hit 100% of the time, unless you have some dasher way to to juke it otherwise. But typically, that's an easy skill shot for your opponent. Ezreal trying to clear out lanes as best he can. And this game, we're looking at 2K difference, only 2K difference. Ghost Regiment still very much in this, still has that strong AoE team. The thing I'm a little bit scared about as we go farther into this game is Sona's not going to be a big damage factor. Olaf eventually is not going to be a big damage factor. Maokai is not a big damage factor. So you essentially have Wukong and Ezreal that we're relying on. So that's going to become the targets for Ghost Regiment Ice. Now, they'd love to get Ezreal, but Ezreal's kiting ability is going to be insane. So if Ezreal gets caught, then major props to Ghost Regiment Ice or poor execution by Shoryuken. As we look at the other team, you have Karthus does crazy damage. You can deal damage while he's dead. You have Riven, who's going to do some serious damage. And then you also have Force as the 80 carries damage. So they have 3 bigger damage sources as we get farther in this game. And then on top of that, Amumu in general, compared to all the other tanks, just doesn't. He's probably about. He's gonna not quite be Olaf damage, but he's gonna be able to compare it out because he has that percent damage. So he's gonna be able to deal a lot of damage in teamfights still. But it's beyond just his natural disruptiveness. So I'm kind of liking the team comp of Ghost Regiment Ice. The thing is all at this point, really, it all comes down to execution. I called out the targets that need to be caught. Wukong's going to probably get in there. Unless he's super clever, he will go down in a big, drag-out team fight. The question is, will Ezreal be able to, just keep kiting and Doom? How decisive will the Ghost Regiment Ice engagement be? Because if it's really decisive and it takes a lot of people really quick, Ezreal can try to kite all he wants, but if he's 1v4, it's not going to really matter as much for him. So really, positioning comes in key. Warding is going to become key here. Keeping your lanes pushed is key, and I actually really like the positioning right now. For Ghost Regiment Ice, they're coming in here, but they need to be careful. They need to be careful. Need to have eyes on target, and this actually might be trouble. Having Riven split out here, this is not what they want. Ghost in here tries to get all over Shoryuken. Shoryuken actually using cleanses, but it doesn't really matter. They use a lot of effort on Shoryuken. Shoryuken's gonna fall to the Requiem in here, and oh, will he be able to get him? This is gonna be really close, but I don't think he has it. Oh, gets popped. And that is going to be an ace right there. And really, the problem right there was the Ghost Regiment Ice just didn't have the vision, the upper brush. They didn't see Sona there to close them off. They didn't see Wukong, and Riven was out of position there. And a lot of times in these later games, I can talk about the team comps all I want and damage outputs and whatnot, but what it really comes down to is just your team fight, but also a lot of it's positioning, and the positioning just didn't pan out right there. It was poor positioning for Ghost Regiment Ice, and that's just kind of one of the mistakes that you make in competitive games like this, and you kind of fear it because you're down 3K after that team fight. Now you're down essentially 5K, and then add in with that, you're down 5K plus you give a Baron buff. That's a lot of trouble for Ghost Regiment Ice here. So what do they do? So they have, this is kind of the tipping point that I like to call it for AoE teams, where you were playing them even, they were kind of getting a little bit of a lead on you, and then you decisively lost a team battle, which you're supposed to excel on, and then after that point, and they get Baron, then the hard part becomes, even if you get a good engagement, do you kill them? And as I'm looking at it right now, I don't know if they can, and then your team comp becomes pretty much ineffective, unless you can get some really good pick off or something to go for your team. So as I was calling out earlier, we have Crucible, we have Quicksilver Sash, and we have Cleanse. So you have 3 ways that Ezreal can get out of CC, and you're never going to catch him. Especially with the Ice Cleanse, you're never going to catch that dude. If he gets caught, then shame on him. I mean, there was so much CC. I think he used a few of them a little bit earlier. There's some miscommunication with the execution there. But I mean, Requiem ultimately got him. I mean, you don't have Requiem on the board, something that can hit anybody on the map anywhere just automatically. Like, he's scot-free. He's out of there. He's good. Count it. Luckily for them, they were able to at least clean that up, but then they gave up Karthus in the process throughout that whole team fight. And really, the game is going to be dictated right now by Tamagotchi. They need to possibly... I haven't seen a lot of oracles since it got nerfed, but this is kind of one of those snares where you just need to go clear really, really hard. It won't help you too much because the fact that sight stones and stuff do exist, and you have all these free wards. I mean, we have 2 ruby sight stones on the board now. So you just see wards everywhere. So clearing out wards becomes kind of a hard proposition, but that's kind of what you need to do. You need to gain the vision advantage so you can pick someone off. And you see them running in here. He will land the bandage toss. Excellent flash out. Good coverage by Maokai. Lots of ults being used here. Ooh. They just really wanted that. They were really trying to force that there. Now you look over at their team and you're like, all right, well, what am I scared of? You have... you still have a good AoE damage ult, you still have Riven's ult low cooldown, and you still have Requiem up. So you still have semi-decent, but they're basically going to be waiting on a Mumu's ult, because without a Mumu's ult, their engage is not effective enough, and it's definitely not effective enough to get Shuriken. So there we go. See, he's just kiting it back right now, throwing out his damage. Forces actually takes a lot of brunt of that damage. Bandage toss misses. They have the damage coverage right there. Olaf's not even in this team fight, and it's just easy kite mode. For sure. He doesn't even take damage. He gets to go back by, finish up his items, whatever he wants to do. He's going to get Last Whisper. Now he's really going to start to chunk through the enemy team. Looks like he's going to pick up an elixir too, get a little bit extra damage and health in there. Looks like we will see the gauntlet come in from Maokai. Or Spirit of the Ancient Golem. So people don't know, Spirit of the Ancient Golem is the armor version of it. It's kind of the tanks version of the new jungling item, Spirit Stones. There's Spirit of the Elder Lizard as well, which is the more damage one, and then you have Spectral Wraith, which is the mage one, which don't see quite as much. You could maybe see Maokai. I mean, no, Maokai wouldn't rock that really. Like, you get AP from it, but the spell vamp's not going to quite come into play, especially for this team comp, because you're the... I mean, even for just Maokai himself, spell vamp's not the greatest thing in the world. He'd rather be tanky right now, and that's kind of where they're going. They just need to survive the onslaught of whatever AoE comes out, and they're good. The reason what they're doing right now, though, is not working is because they need to get all their lanes pushed. Their lanes aren't pushing. Bottom lane's pushing against them. Key things to note, so this is pushing really, really hard against them, but this will come back really quickly on you, just in a typical game. Because that turret's there forward, that bottom lane will naturally push for them. Now, you saw like the big backfill come in here and just take out their bottom turret, so now it's kind of even. But they need to monitor those lanes. Tamagotchi does. The red team needs to monitor those lanes and keep them pressed so that they can have the advantage and press in and try to take these turrets. If they want to take a turret now, they have to basically just straight engage underneath a turret, which they don't want to do against this AoE team comp. They don't want to have anything to do with that. Smart move. They didn't split. I thought they were going to split down here. Red team with all the vision right here. Blind bandage toss, kind of interesting. Coming out, the twisted advance onto Gajri, but not a lot of people are there to quite follow it up. There is some damage coming in there, and it looks like Olaf just getting in there. Flash out by Riven, trying to come back in after being ignited. Just gets to that little bit of damage. I like this play, just trying to bait him just a little bit. Requiem coming in here. Not going to be able to clean up, and Shoryuken. Seriously, he's the key. Talked about it earlier, and that is the team fight they wanted. And again, that's that first punch kind of scenario. They wandered in the jungle, didn't quite have enough vision, and first punch was thrown by Tamagotchi. They were able to capitalize it. Ezreal's always getting off his True Shot Barrage, like right there when he needs to, getting off damage on the target he wants to, getting damage, getting that attack speed, then comes into the fight. Kites really, really well in that position where you have lots of jungle and stuff. I mean, it's a snare that they could use against them for AoE teams. You have those tight corridors, but as far as Ezreal's concerned, he can hop over Arcane Shift, flashes, has all these cleanses. He's going to be able to poke at you, especially with all the vision they have, and really capitalize. And now you're losing tons of turrets. You've lost an inhibitor, and this is looking like Tamagotchi is finally going to be able to close this out. they had a pretty healthy lead going that fight. So, big props to Ghost Regiment Ice right there, trying to make something happen. But again, it just comes down to vision. It's one of those things where it's a combination of lack of vision and just throwing the first punch and being decisive in those team fights, and they just haven't been able to quite pull it off. And otherwise, a brilliant early game. What looked like something that was like snowballing out of their control. They turned around with that brilliant early kills, swung it with that 4 kills, made an even game, pulled even ahead at some point, and now just the fatigue is setting in. The really good execution by Tamagotchi of what you want to do against an AoE comp like this has come through. They have a good team comp. They have Sona they have 2. Their bot lane's really mobile. And it has, disengage, with Sona's ult if they really wanted. And then, combined with Maokai's anti-AoE ability, that's a good choice for a jungler. And then you just have, you also have Olaf, who has Ragnarok that's built to run right through that. And then you have the wild card, which is pretty much Wukong, who can, he harassed the crap out of Karthus in that mid lane. We see a lot of ADs in these mid lanes having really dominant matchups. Use that, plus he has some AoE, does tons of damage. Now, look at how stacked Wukong is, honestly. Like, his items are insane. Able to dive in there, combined with the Guardian's Angel. That's a lot of trouble, and Force is just dead straight up. 1v1, they're trying to fight over here, but they really don't have any damage beyond Karthus. Karthus is the only thing they got. There we go. Oh, the Hourglass barely keeping him alive, but this is pretty much going to be an ace, except for the fact that Leon's going to be able to beat Feet and should be able to get back to Fountain. But otherwise, I expect the rest of this game to probably be cleared out now. Attack speed coming in there for the rest of the team. They should be able to clear out these towers and close it out. Ooh, nice try to engage and do something, but they know it's pretty much over. Ghost Regiment Ice trying to make something happen again. Played a really good, really exciting game, kept it even, but Tamagotchi on a roll, taking out both Ghost Regiment teams and really just every team that they've been able to face so far. And if they're going to be undefeated moving on. Thank you again for joining us at ESEA. I am Pato, and this is our match of the week. Ghost Regiment Ice versus Tamagotchi. Tamagotchi coming out with the win, keeping undefeated. And yeah, if you want to check us out on twitch.tv/ESEA. Obviously on our website's also awesome. But I'll be able to talk about this match a little bit, I'm sure, and other stuff and other cool League of Legends happenings going on. What else is happening in the league on our weekly show, which is every Sunday at 6:30 p.m. We have a really cool cast of dudes up there. We have TF2. We have Sal. Sal's a stud. He brings all the boys to the yard, honestly, for the weekly cast. He's awesome. And then we have Dustin Moret. He's a stellar, excellent Counter-Strike commentator and player. Has a lot of good insight on a lot of the teams, a lot of good opinions about what's going on in that scene. So if you want to get the know-how, the lowdown on the SCS scene, definitely check out the weekly show or the TF2 scene. And of course the League of Legends scene, I'll be there talking up, and and then we have other guests that come in and out. But definitely check out that show. It will be on Sunday. We'll probably talk about this game a little bit and what went on. But hope you enjoyed the game. It was really exciting for me. It ended a little bit lopsided, but overall I think it was a really, really good game. And a really good example of kind of where the meta is going and the new items in the game, because we saw a lot of utilization of those items early game, late game, why certain things are strong and not strong anymore, and overall again. So thanks again. I am Pato for ESEA, and I'm out.